Listen closely, my beloved child. Closer than you think. Let the room go quiet. Let your breath slow. What I'm about to tell you will hold you where you are, the way a storm holds the horizon still. Do not look away. Walk with me to the very end, because each word has a pulse, and you are going to feel it. Something enormous is standing just beyond what you can see. I need you to hear me. Someone has been watching you, not by coincidence, not by curiosity, but by design. A private investigator was hired to shadow your steps, to memorize your routes, to catch the flicker of your eyes when you thought no one was looking. They followed the routine and the rare, the loud and the private. And what they found will not only take your breath, it will give it back to you in a different shape. Do not scroll past this moment. Hold your ground. The trail didn't thunder in, it crept. The watcher stayed small, blended into the background, recording the places your feet pressed into the earth, the hands you shook, the faces that warmed when you arrived, and the faces that didn't. They took photos of things you think nobody saw, the bent corners of notes you tucked into pockets, the way doors closed just as you turned toward them, the slant of lips that looked like smiles until the room believed you were gone. Nothing slipped. They filed a report, yes. But this wasn't a simple summary. The words themselves carried weight, ink pressed so hard it almost tore the page. Their hands shook. Their voice faltered. They warned that what they had uncovered would change how you stand in a room, how you hear your name, how you look at your circle, and how you look at yourself. My child, listen. The truth they uncovered refused to stay buried. It was too dangerous. It glowed underneath everything like a coal waiting for air. This is why you must stay with me. The investigator began to notice patterns. Rhythms that shouldn't have existed. Familiar strangers showing up in places they had no reason to be. Faces appearing twice in one day along two different roads. Conversations that stopped when your shadow crossed the entryway. Names scribbled in a hurried hand on the back of receipts. A grainy list of initials tucked under a keyboard. Every page in their file darkened the picture. Hold on. They found messages, yes, messages you were never meant to read, sent with your name standing between lines like a warning flare. Some words were heavy with envy. Some were soaked in bitterness. Some were slick with betrayal. And all of them aimed at the life you carry like a light in your chest. It wasn't a simple job for the investigator. They admitted, whispering, almost embarrassed, that it felt like something higher was pushing them forward. That every time they considered stepping away, a door opened or a whisper fell from the air, and the path lighted again. It's as if I was sent to reveal this to them, they said. As if I didn't choose this trail. It chose me. Don't move. Don't click away. Hear it. The trail carried them to a doorstep you know, woven deep into your family threads. And there, they saw the slow, quiet breaking of trust. Not a shouted betrayal, not a dramatic collapse. A scale in a back room, one you couldn't see, weighing loyalty against advantage. Whispered plans shaped in the absence of your eyes. Smiles that tensed when you weren't near. My child, what I am telling you is not to wound you. It is to free you. This truth will shake you, yes, but after the shaking, there is space. There is air. At first, they thought it was petty. Small gains, little cuts, but the line widened. The investigator traced money where there should have been none, documents signed with a hand pretending to be yours, agreements formed under your shadow. Routes were mapped not to find you, but to corner you. They used your name as a piece on their board, sliding it across squares you never agreed to step on. When the investigator delivered the file, their voice broke. They are writing chapters in your life without your consent, they said. They are shifting your future while you're still living your present. Stay. What was meant for you what carries your imprint, what recognizes your voice, is being hidden behind other hands. Photographs revealed midnight meetings in cars that never idled by accident. The same faces again and again, faces you know, faces you once trusted to speak kindly of you. But kindness isn't the same as loyalty, and loyalty isn't the same as love. And then, the investigator stopped. They stopped writing. Not because there was nothing left to record, but because the truth pressed too close. Even I couldn't believe what I saw, they whispered, pushing the folder forward. But you must. If you don't see it now, it will break you when it explodes. Listen to me. They followed the thread to someone close enough to smell your shampoo, close enough to finish your sentence. Someone whose smile felt warm, whose eyes met yours without flinching, and yet whose mouth, when turned away, shaped different words. Their smile hides a second life, the investigator wrote. Coded calls. Side meetings in corners of small cafes that smell like milk and steam. Errands that required passports of secrecy. They weren't alone. Someone else, someone from inside your circle, was feeding them. Drip by drip, detail by detail. You have felt this. You have woken at night feeling watched by something that wasn't there. You weren't wrong. The report didn't end with photos of shadows. It carried proof. Documents stamped with urgency and your name tied to headlines that never belonged to you. Contracts bearing an echo of your signature but not your hand. Efforts to bend your road away from what was promised. If they wait, the investigator added in the margins, they will lose what is theirs without realizing they had it. Now breathe. There were photos, faces leaning close, breath fogging the air as they spoke your name like a code word, guilt nestling behind their eyes, fear following them like a second set of footsteps. Because they know something. They know that the quiet things do not stay quiet forever. That the bones of truth don't break just because someone tries to bury them. And yes, they tried to erase you. They tried to rub your print from places you belonged, tried to sand your footsteps from the path and draw their own in your shape. But even erasure leaves a smear, and smears tell stories too. The investigator called it simply, this wasn't just betrayal. It was destiny theft. And, my chosen one, when destiny is tampered with, a siren sounds in the soul. If you are here right now, it is not random. Something led you. A gravitational pull brought your eyes to this line before the clock ran out. They added clues that refused to be overlooked. A name circled once, then twice, then again in angry red. A name that floated around you like a moth around flame. Close, then gone, then closer again. They were seen near your doorstep, near your work, near the places you hide to breathe. They pretended to pass by. They pretended coincidence. But the lens doesn't pretend. Their image appeared beside another face, someone you considered a guide, someone whose loyalty you defended when others questioned it. The investigator called it the mask drop, because once you see the faces, once your eyes focus, there is no unseeing them. You must hold steady. They wrote that the plotters' fear grew louder than their plans, that when they whispered your name, their throats tightened, that they rushed through dark rooms with their shoulders lifted as if expecting a hand to land, because somewhere in them, truth thundered like a distant storm. What is hidden, the investigator wrote, has already begun to rise. It wasn't just betrayal of a moment. It wasn't just a lie told once and swallowed. They tried to steer your decisions as if your life were their wheel. They pulled strings from behind curtains, thinking you'd never notice the tug. But strings fray, and they had frayed them thin. The investigator couldn't sleep. Your story lodged under their ribs like a shard. I think, they wrote, we are racing into a collision. Their lies with your truth. When it happens, everything opens. There was a warning in the middle of the file, a note ringed in pencil. If they stay blind now, the storm will pass over them, but the damage will remain. Better to stand before the wind than to pretend it isn't coming. This is your chance to stand. Now come closer. The next part is heavier. The trail stretched not across days but months, laid carefully along your soft moments. They aligned their steps with your tired evenings, your stretched mornings, your distracted afternoons. It was strategic. A storage room, hidden behind a sign that called itself ordinary, held files with your name taped to the spine. Some were forged to sound like you, some twisted to bend history, some clipped and pasted to build a story that never happened. Fingerprints on all of it, more than one. It wasn't a single pair of hands. It was a network, quiet, efficient, convinced they would stay invisible. The investigator's red pen cut through those folders. False signature, altered timeline, deleted truth. There was a plan to use your own past against you, to reframe memories, to tell the world you were someone else. But there's a flaw in that plan. The truth may hide, but it does not forget its way home. The investigator found a photograph that should never have existed, a private moment, a breath caught in your own house, your own space, a slice of you captured through a lens that had no permission. That picture crossed a line. It named a photographer who had eaten at your table, who had lifted a glass to your days. They didn't just watch you, they archived you and traded your life like currency. This is not merely the cracking of an agreement. This is the breaking of the soul's quiet trust. The investigator followed a car that circled your block more times than a stranger would, more times than a neighbor should. When it stopped, faces slid out, faces that smiled at you under morning light. Their laughter used your name to sharpen itself. In the recordings, the investigator caught voices dividing your life into pieces, measuring what they could take, calculating what they could hide. And even then, one voice broke. Because guilt does what guilt always does. It leaks. It makes the confident stutter. It wakes the restless at 3 in the morning. This is why your nights have felt heavy. Why silence sometimes felt crowded. Why you felt a prickle on your skin at the grocery line. You thought you were imagining it. You weren't. Your body knew. Before dawn one night, the investigator realized a second set of steps in their shadow. The hunter had become prey. Someone tried to lean close enough to make them afraid, to push them off the trail. That is how serious this is. Serious enough that they were willing to drag others into the dark to keep their hands clean. The investigator wrote in rushed ink, a smear across the bottom of the page. They know I see them. If you're reading this, it's because I chose truth, not safety. You were not meant to find these pages. But destiny has a way of sliding documents under doors and tucking messages where you'll eventually look. This is why you feel what you feel when a certain name comes up on your phone. This is why your chest tightens when a certain face lingers too long in a doorway. The truth has been circling you like a hawk. You have always known, underneath everything, that something is off. My child, you are not paranoid. You are discerning. And you are protected in more ways than you realize. We are not done. The file grew heavier not with paper, but with meaning. The investigator returned, trembling slightly, saying, I can't hold this. It's boiling. If they don't see it now, the heat will do what the lies cannot. There was footage, faces you know, talking about you as a project, as a puzzle, as a prize to be split. Their laughter had edges. Their whispers had teeth. Yet the through line was simple. Fear. Not of your weakness. Of your strength. You have a way of calling light into a room and not apologizing for it. You have a way of making doors open just by refusing to stop knocking. They didn't watch because they thought you were small. They watched because they knew you were large. They formed an alliance around that fear. Numbers scribbled on napkins, symbols on envelopes, notes tucked into coat sleeves, attempts to move assets that were never theirs to touch, rerouting what was meant for you to accounts that never spoke your name. They were caught in the act, tangled in their own haste, signatures sliding across lines they didn't realize were watched. This isn't just theft, the investigator wrote. It's desperation. They are running out of time. And now, here you are, with the one thing that turns fear to ash, clarity. It wasn't only those you suspected. One face, the one you defended most, the one you held up to others, the one you made excuses for, was feeding the fires. Passing envelopes in a quiet alley as if paper doesn't remember the hands that carry it. When they were confronted in a whisper, their answer was smaller than their act. I didn't think they'd ever find out. The investigator's pen carved the paper here. This isn't only betrayal. It is cowardice. It will not survive daylight. For too long, you held heaviness with no proof. Your intuition carried a weight your mind couldn't name. Now the pages carry it for you. This is the moment things sharpen. This is the moment your eyes align with what your heart already knew. And then a line you must remember. They thought they tracked you, the investigator wrote, but heaven tracked them first. The next set of pages reads less like a report and more like a confession. I was not hired only to track, the investigator wrote. I was sent to reveal. There is a larger hand on this. Something is being uncovered for you that they didn't intend and that I didn't expect. There were underground rooms, cold tables, humming lights, voices speaking softly for fear of their own echoes. People you once hugged sat there. They didn't meet once or twice. They gathered often, their timings wrapped around your life like measurements. Maps were laid out with your home circled, your paths highlighted in highlighter that glowed suspiciously bright. Places you trust were marked with red X's, not to protect, but to watch. They had been 2 steps ahead because they had been two-faced. Documents changed hands in shadows, hands you had once held without counting the fingers. Pages with your name scrawled again and again as if writing it could conjure ownership. They thought that carving your name would cut you out. They were wrong. Something shifted. One of them slipped. Sat alone in a cafe with their hands around a cup they didn't drink. Whispered into the phone, if they ever find out, I'm done. And that sentence cracked the ceiling. Regret rose like steam. Their alliance started to wobble under the weight of what they had stacked on lies. Arguments were caught on audio, muffled, sharp, full of fear. We can't hide this forever. Another voice hissed. We already did. Silence ballooned so large it seemed to swallow them. Heavy breathing, unsteady hands, guilt that sounded like a second language learned late and spoken poorly. The investigator wrote something I need you to hold. When guilt gets louder than plotting, their end is near. They wanted to erase your path, but in their frenzy, they lit their own. Every step they took left prints, and prints tell stories when you put a light on them. This is why you felt watched. This is why your safe places didn't feel safe. You were not imagining it. The truth is here now. The file says again, they tracked you, but something far greater tracked them. Now, the unraveling. The final envelope was thicker, heavier. Not just paper, memory and proof. The investigator placed it on the table like a cornerstone. This is the last one, they said. When they see this, the masks cannot hold. Inside, a timeline beginning the first day a stranger's eyes found your path. Dates lined up like beads on a string, clicking into your milestones. The day you rose, the day you faltered, the day you almost quit but didn't. Each moment you thought you moved alone had a shadow standing in the doorway. Red lines stretching from face to face like veins. circles around names that would never have met if not for you. At the center, one name, larger than the rest, the one that will make your stomach drop for a second and then settle, the one you raised higher than your own doubt, a person whose gratitude you secured with your own hands and who, in the quiet, sharpened the blade. They were not a bystander. They were the architect, the conductor of this broken orchestra, guiding others who wanted a piece of your song. They fed lies into your space until the air grew heavy. But even the architect builds with borrowed time. The file reads, every structure they built shakes at the base. They know the foundation is sand. Hear me, you were never watched because you were weak. You were watched because your strength makes things move. The recordings captured full phrases now. Your name spoken like a secret. Do they know? Someone asked. Not yet, another said, and even then, there was doubt. Later recordings captured the panic. We don't have time. It's unraveling. Their voices changed shape. Confidence slipped into desperation. Arrogance cracked. The investigator underlined one sentence 3 times. Truth has momentum. Once it starts rolling downhill, it gathers everything it needs to finish the job. Letters you never wrote. Messages you never sent. Agreements that used your name to shift what was yours to someone else's ledger. The investigator matched fingerprints, pressed timestamps together like puzzle pieces, created a stack of proof so straightforward the guilty couldn't argue without choking on their own words. All those nights you felt something leaning against your window. All those afternoons you felt watched while you waited in line. This is why. And here is the turn, everything they tried to bury is in your hands now. This is where the story pivots. There was a sealed note taped to the last page. On the envelope, open when ready. Inside, they followed you to control you, but heaven followed them to protect you. Whatever shadow you crossed was not aimless. It was a warning written in wind. You stand at the doorway of your freedom now. Then a single line to carry like a blade in your sleeve. They will not be exposed by your anger. They will unveil themselves under the weight of what they've done. This report does not end with fear. It ends with a door. Open it. Now the choice is yours. The evidence is not whispering anymore. The faces are unmasked. The lies are noisy and sloppy and tired. This is not a story of defeat. It is an awakening. They thought they were writing your last paragraph. But in truth, they drafted your prologue. You feel it already, the pressure on your chest lifting, the way your lungs reach a little deeper. Your spirit, clearing. This is not where you break. This is where you turn. And there's one final page, almost empty. For words stamped like a bell, watch the light rise. Because no matter how long they watched, no matter how many corners they hid in, there has always been a larger script unfolding for you. No human hand can write over what is written on your life without the ink turning back to water. Now, when you walk into a room and that hush lifts the hair on your arms, you will know, this isn't fear speaking. It's discernment. It's your sight opening. The moment they feared, your seeing, is here. The investigator closed their journal with a soft exhale. They thought they were invisible. They wrote on the last line. They weren't. And neither are you, hidden no more beneath someone else's false narrative. You are awake. As you breathe in, realize this, everything until now has prepared you. The truth has chosen you. The shadows are thinning. Their plot ends right here. Your freedom is not waiting in a distant place. It is stepping into the room now. Stay with me. Do not move away yet. We're not filling time. We are filling your hands. There are things you may feel immediately. Heat in your palms, a lightness in your chest, a clarity in the back of your mind where fog used to be. That is not imagination. That is what truth does when it finds a home. There will be a temptation to rush. to call, to confront. But understand this, exposure is already in motion. You do not need to swing the door wider. You only need to stand in it, eyes open, spine straight, heart steady. The mask drop has begun. Let it fall. There may be names in your life that now pulse with a different color. Pay attention. Not to feed fear, to feed wisdom. This isn't about paranoia. It's about posture. About holding your ground when the floor under them starts to slip. They will run to catch the objects falling from their shelves. You will stand. When they scramble, remember, you did not cause the trembling. The truth did. Remember the one who smiled in your presence and traded your name in your absence. The one who guided these movements from behind a curtain made from your own trust. Do not erupt. Do not shrink. Hold your place. Those who were paid to pretend are about to lose their lines. Those who signed your name like a possession are about to stutter in front of light. Understand, too, the unexpected betrayer, the one you defended. Know that their choice came from their fear, not your lack. Know that their collapse is self-made. The words they spoke, "I didn't think they'd find out," is their confession. Let it stand. You are not their judge. You are the one who survived their decision. The investigator's voice softened in those final paragraphs, even as the facts stayed sharp. "I didn't choose to love their story," they wrote. "But I did. It would not leave me. There is a reason. You are meant to step into this not with shaking hands but with steady eyes. And if at any point you begin to doubt what you heard, return to the quiet evidence that has lived in you longer than any paper trail. The nights your soul warned you, the rooms that chilled when certain shoes entered, the friend who didn't celebrate, the door that closed without your hand touching it. Your intuition is not a timid thing. It lifted its head for months. Now it roars. As they unravel, you will feel the air change. Plans that felt tight will loosen. Stories they told will contradict in public. The person who orchestrated this will make mistakes. They already have. Paper won't fold the way it once did. Voices will crack on names they used to say smoothly. This is how truth looks when it walks through a house. You are not required to chase it. You are invited to witness it. There will be signs. The one who stayed silent will reach out suddenly with reasons. The one who spoke too much will go quiet. The late-night meetings will stutter. The calls that came at odd hours will stop for a few days and then flood your phone with apologies. The one who pretended not to care will watch you harder. It will all be noisy. And beneath the noise there will be a tone you recognize. Fear of the light. Let that be their work. Your work is simpler. Stand with what is true. Let the grief come and go like a wave, and then let it return to sea. You did not cause their choices. You are not responsible for the shadows they crawled into. Your responsibility is to keep your lamp high, to move when the door opens, to protect what carries your name with a quietness that cannot be bribed. Do not be surprised when the investigator's final note keeps ringing in your bones. They tracked you to control you, but heaven tracked them to protect you. There is choreography to this that is older than their plans and stronger than their signatures. You will not miss what belongs to you. No matter how hard they tried to reroute it, rivers know their beds. I want you to hear me say this as if I'm standing in front of you, not behind a screen, not through a page. You were not late to this. You arrived exactly when you could hold it. Others might have collapsed under the weight of seeing. You will not. You will bend, maybe. You will feel pain. You will forgive some people on days you don't want to. But you will not break. You do not need to become hard to protect yourself. You need to become clear. Clarity is comfort's older sister. It doesn't always smile, but it always saves. There is one more thing the investigator wrote between the lines but did not say directly. They underestimated your memory. You will remember the good they gave you. and you will remember the harm. Both can be true in the same pair of hands. That doesn't muddy your love. It proves its spine. And when the moment comes, because it will, when the architect steps into a room and pretends not to flinch, when the circle tries to tighten around something that is no longer there for them, you will feel an odd calm. That calm is not numbness. It is authority. It is what happens when a person stands in the center of their own name and refuses to move. Watch how the light touches each thing. Watch how it makes what is real shine and what is false retreat. Watch how doors open that you didn't have to knock on this time. Watch how your steps feel firmer on ground they tried to tilt. And if at any point you feel the urge to doubt this unfolding, remember the simple last line in the folder: watch the light rise. It is already rising. It is already in your room, in your hands, in the spaces between your words. It will keep rising until everything that cannot endure it sits down and everything that was built for it stands up. My beloved child, you have reached the threshold. If there's a tremble in you, let it be the tremble of a person who is awake. You don't have to force the end of their plot. You need only step into the beginning of your freedom. They are closer than you think, but so is your protection. So is your provision. So is your next chapter, printed in an ink no one else owns. Do not look away. Stay with me to the last syllable, because the final truth is simple, and it is strong enough to hold you. They are not the author. They never were. The ones who watched, the ones who wrote, the ones who forged and followed and planned. None of them wrote the first line of your life, and none of them can write the last. That is why their hands shake. That is why their voices crack. That is why your spine straightens even as you cry. You are not at the mercy of their stories. You are at the dawn of your own.